own investigation, and the people investigating are literally 26 years old. They've had no legal experience. They aren't lawyers. They aren't judges. They, barely have started life, and they're making the determination of who's telling the truth.
So what is the criteria for hiring someone like that, though? That they just happen to have your point of view? Nothing. That's crazy.
I guess they need a college degree because they're working in a school, but, other than that, not much.
And there's no indication of whether, can this investigator, quote unquote, counsel people as to whether they should bring a charge or not?
Yes, they can. And what happens is they meet usually with a Title IX coordinator, and then she sends that person on to an investigator. And it's supposed to be impartial, but she's sending them to her subordinates who report to her. She's the boss. So when she sends them someone and says, you need to, listen to her, she might have a complaint, they're going to take it. I've never heard of them not filing a complaint on a girl for a girl. So
the person that is supposed to be neutral actually gets involved in the beginning in determining whether and in counseling an alleged victim as to whether they should bring some. Kangaroo court is an apt phrase for this, because you have a prosecutor basically and a judge acting in dual roles together against someone who then is not allowed to have someone advocate for them.
Yeah, and the problem with it really is that I'm not kidding you when I say every single boy I've represented has been innocent. I mean, I'm a woman. I'm not going to represent somebody that I think actually raped a girl. They haven't done it. It's been consensual sex, and in 2 of my cases, there has been no sex at all, and the girl made it up. And, in fact, one of them, I won, and they said, yeah, you're right, she made it up. But they kicked him out of school anyway because they said he made the investigation difficult. And I guess that was because he had me as a lawyer. So, really, having a lawyer gets you kicked out of school now. That's crazy.
This is astonishing to me. And there was no ramifications or consequences for the girl who made it up?
No ramifications at all. And we're going to sue the school because that's all we have left to do. Initially I would tell people, I'm not going to encourage you to sue the school because it's just going to drag out and it's not what your student wants. It's not what they want. They just want to get back in school. But when you get kicked out and you didn't do anything and it stays on your record and makes it difficult to get into another school, you're left with no recourse but to sue.
Absolutely right. That you have to, restore your good name. Now, heavens forbid someone who didn't commit any type of assault in this field, or and is still found to have done some wrongdoing. Is there any type of appeal process that they can go through, or are they just left with it?
Only through the school. Only through the school. I have had one that I've lost. I'm actually pretty good at this, so I usually do enough background that so far I've been able to at least get the damage minimized where no one gets kicked out of school, which, is sometimes small. That's not really very gratifying when you know you're innocent. But I had one that we lost straight out, but on appeal, we won it completely, which was really, really good because this poor boy was in an ROTC. He had an ROTC scholarship, and so that brings the military into it, and that means that if he had lost, he would have had to pay back the $40,000 scholarship he had received, and if he couldn't pay it back all in one chunk, which he couldn't, he was required to enlist in the military immediately. And enlisting in the military immediately these days probably means you're getting deployed. So that is astonishing, and everybody in the United States should know this is happening.
This is absolutely unreal to me. Do they keep any records of the counseling of the women? Because, my legal brain, and you're talking about, getting too far into the weeds. Let's get into the weeds for a second. My legal brain is telling me,
sure.
That there's got to be some recourse of having, for these victims who are innocent. I'm saying the victims now are the people who are being wrongfully accused, into seeing what efforts, if any, were made by these counselors to actually cajole and to convince someone to bring a charge, rather than listen to the charge and make up their own mind, listen to the advice and the options they have, and then making up their own mind. Is there any theory under which you could go after a school for promoting a false charge?
Until you said that, I've not thought of it, but I'm going to add it in to my next lawsuit I do. because that's a really good point. Because they do that for the girls. I know that they do that. And you know, the other thing about it is that these boys get really depressed and suicidal. And part of my background, one reason I started doing this is that I'm also a licensed clinical social worker. And so I have that background of dealing with therapy. And these boys get suicidal, and there is no support for them. No support at all on the campus. They, allegedly the Title IX coordinator is there for them, but I had one case where the Title IX coordinator gave the victim his cell phone number and said, call me anytime you have a problem. Did he do the same for my client? No. There was no one that would help him. Absolutely no one.
Absolutely. It is
the
most
unreal.
crooked thing I've ever heard of. This is something you think about in third world countries happening to people, not on college campuses in the greatest country in the world.
No. And one thing that bothers me is that I don't think women understand what's happening. I have sons. I have a husband. People who have children and this happens to them, they suddenly become the biggest advocates of making it stop. Women who might have been a feminist, they still say, wait, this isn't fair. And there are feminists out there who have made very public statements about how wrong this is because it's not fair. And nobody understands that, we're not just giving women a chance to come forward without, being embarrassed, but we're just assuming the guy is guilty without giving him any kind of fair shot at it.
It's absolutely crazy. So listen, if you ever need to be Pro Hoc Vitaed into New York, I'm happy to do it with our firm. Folks,
Absolutely, that'd be great.
Yeah, if you know someone, or if you're a family member or whoever is having to endure this sort of absolute craziness, go to Title9Representation.com. A.G. Owens Cooper, great website, by the way, when you check it out, and tell them your story and realize that this is not the way life is supposed to be. It's supposed to be, everyone's rights are supposed to be protected. It's supposed to be a neutral investigation and determination of facts. Understand that this isn't you have options, and you need to avail yourself of these options, and you don't just be a punching bag for someone's agenda.
I guess my final thought is if you know anyone who is going through this, they are not alone. It happens to hundreds and hundreds of boys across the country, and you need to get a lawyer. No matter what they say, you need a lawyer who can help you navigate through this because it does make a big difference.
Oh, absolutely. Definitely get yourself represented. Folks, check out, again, Title9Representation.com. This has been great. Thank you so much. I'm glad we're bringing this issue out to everyone because it really needs to be discussed more.
Thank you very much.
And that'll do it for this week's show. I want to thank our guests for coming on the show, Bob Dvorchak, Michelle Owens. Thanks so much for coming on. But right now it's time to shut this sucker down. From the People's Republic of New York, Gene Baradelli, behind enemy lines, we are out of here. Next week, another great show, but until then, good night, folks. Our position has been compromised. It's time to roll out. Report for debriefing at www.behindenemylinesradio.us and look for regular communications via Facebook and Twitter at BEL_radio. You are the resistance. Behind Enemy Lines. A rock radio production. Copyright 2016. Back in 7 days. Out.